Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Conspiracy Castle. I am your conspiracy asshole, Primetime 99, Alex Stein. Let's go! Woo! We're going to have an exciting night tonight because we're going to dive deep, guys. We're going to get deep into the woo-woo. So I want to get your mind right. We got to get the blood flowing to your brain. We're about to freaking harvest some good vibrations. So if you're not ready, I suggest you get ready because the guy I'm bringing on is a master. Over 1,000 hours of yoga teacher training. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's not a jabroni yoga guy. So, listen, I don't bring on some amateur yogi. We're bringing on the real deal because Primetime 99 likes to call myself a little bit of an amateur yogi. And I'm going to show the yogi man himself so he knows I'm not BSing. But with all that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome Yogi Zorananda! Yes, my man Yogi, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the amazing introduction. That was wonderful.
Well, you know, it's funny. I never know how people are going to take the introductions because it's, you know, I like to go hot and heavy. But like I said, I don't know if I just start off with this, but the reason why I'm excited to talk to you, like everybody, this is my story with yoga, real quick, before you tell us yours. And we know you're obviously a certified, you know, thousands of hours. I can share your website, you know, we'll go into that. But when I first started doing yoga, I got addicted and I went 100 days in a row and I posted every day on my Instagram. Did you check my Instagram? Did you see my yoga thread on my Instagram for yourself?
No, I did not.
Oh my God! Okay, let me.
Busy today, so I
know.
That.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's annoying. I just want to show this real quick, so you know that I'm serious. So you know you're like, what are you talking about? Because dude, it was serious. I got really full blown addicted to it. Hold on, let me go to my highlights. And people don't realize, guys, yoga is one of the best practices there is. And I know it sounds woo. I know it sounds weird to somebody that's never practiced it. And we don't need to defend it. I'm just saying. It's you know, people think I'm exaggerating, like they think I'm lying, yet they've never tried it. So that's kind of the one thing why I encourage people to try yoga. It can be very addicting. Okay, so let me go to my yoga life. You can see the screen right here, Yogi.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, this is my yoga life. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. This is my day one Zen class, and I used to like to do the 106 weeks ago, but see, let's fast forward. Let's see. I start keeping track right about. Let's see. Day 4, day 6, day 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at this. 12. I went 13, 14, 15. I'm just saying we keep going. You see my progression? Look how I love it, guys. We're showing it off. I know this is about you. I'm sorry I'm making it about me, but I just want to show you. Look at this. So nowadays, I started to go twice a day. I got so addicted. Well, real quick before I go through all of it, why is that? Why when you start doing yoga, you want to go twice? You literally, I would go in the morning and I'd want to go at night again. Why is that?
It's the endorphins, first of all, especially because you're doing mainly hot yoga, and it's more so the feeling that you have after it, right? Because during, it's really intense. And if you're going to recall how you feel during the class, you're probably not going to be so motivated to go, but you're most likely going to recall after the fact and how you prepared yourself so well for a day ahead of you, right? So, and because you've been doing it every day and you're seeing progress, you start to really get inside your own head that you're going to progress more and more. And it's also probably your own personality, right? I'm sure anything that you dive into, you are going to have that drive to see through fully. Just the kind of sense that I'm getting.
Look how much better I looked. I was about 20 pounds. Look at this. Look how I look like a male supermodel. I look like you, Yogi. I got to get back. I'm saying I'm so excited to have you on because I'm going to Black Swan tomorrow morning. I'm signing back up because I stopped going. Dude, you know when I stopped going? Here, let me stop showing off my yoga thing so I can focus on you. I just wanted to show you that so you know that I really do have a yoga practice. I can do the wheel. I can do, I'm not very good at handstands, or I can do some, shoulder stands. But what I'm saying is, I'm not some just jabroni that's never been in the yoga studio, that's never sweated, that's never done a 90-minute, hot yoga session. So like you were saying, the release after it is one of the best feelings I've ever had. So tell us, is that what you do? Do you practice mainly to get to that feeling of almost euphoria?
No, I got into practicing it to really understand why I'm a human being. Um, I first started with learning more in-depth meditations, and then I got into yoga because it was at a point in my life where I was nearly anorexic. I was fairly skinny. Just, I wanted a physical change, and I knew that yoga was going to help facilitate that physical change. And so I just went really hardcore into it. And with my already set up background diving into meditation, I immediately just went into all the esoteric philosophy around what yoga is and the historical content of chakras and energies and mantras and all that stuff. So naturally, to me, it made sense to not just focus on the physical part of it, but to really dive into all of the mythology and all of the esoteric understandings of what yoga is.
Well, okay. Well, speaking of that, where does yoga start? Does it really start 2,000 years ago? A bunch of India with a bunch of guys like having mystical powers, basically, because they were so tapped into their pineal gland, they were able to like, hold their breath for a long time and stretch, and they almost had mystical powers. What do you know about basically yoga mysticism?
So, from what I understand, yoga dates back far more than 2000 years
Yeah, I
ago.
was just being rough. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot,
Yeah.
but isn't
But
that the height of it, kind of around 2,000 years ago in India or something? Why am I thinking of that
yeah,
number? Is that when it got okay? Go ahead. I'm an idiot. Let me sorry. Excuse
yeah.
me.
So, some of the original iterations of yoga are actually much more basic than what we have right now. There has been an evolution of expanding on the postures, especially over the last 200 years when it came to the West. So, if we look at some of the original kind of Rig Veda texts and say like the Mahabharata and like Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, what we originally get is the max 82 postures. And even before that, just a handful of postures where the focus was on more of an ascetic life that took away all of the materialistic aspects of the desires of human consciousness. And so, what intense seated postures did was challenge the mind in bringing up everything that would force you out of the posture. And that's why like asana just means seat, right? The original point of doing an asana was to challenge your mindset around why you would get out of it. And there's also so much more to it as well too, because there's a preparation for being able to actually sit in padmasana or like full lotus, and to be able to comfortably sit in it, so that your then next task as a yogi or as an ascetic kind of Brahmin would be to then start to explore the inner world of consciousness, and then the deeper troubles that are coming up from there. Because if you're just going to focus on the seated practice, you're only going to get to a certain level of what's happening, right? It's going to stay
When you say
physical.
seated practice, is there only 82 positions in a seated practice? Is that what you're saying? There's only 82 positions in a seated practice.
Um, Traditionally, yes. So a
How
good,
how many poses are there total in yoga? Basically, I mean,
so prior to um, BKS Iyengar, the 82 postures was pretty much standard. And when Krishnamacharya and BKS Iyengar came to the West, they're the ones that expanded it and started making variations to the postures that already existed. And so they're the ones who actually started creating all these different forms where you'd have one posture, but then you would have like 8 different variations of that posture, right?
And with yoga, with the practice that you focus, is it a seated posture yoga in the asana? Because, well, or actually, let me go back to one point I want to say, the meditation point, guys. The reason why, with me, why I think yoga is also so, and like I say, I'm talking about it. I'm gotta go get in the studio tomorrow. I sound like such a bitch ass, but when I was doing it every single day, the reason why is the only way you can truly kind of meditate, guys, is after you kind of work in yoga postures. You're in these poses, you have to hold them, and at the very end, when you're in shavasana, when you're laying down and you can finally relax for that minute or those few minutes, like, then you can really honestly think about nothing because you're so happy to be done, but you just feel euphoric. That's why I'm saying to use the yoga to tap into the meditation. Is there a way, is there a trick to where I can tap into that sort of meditation without having to do the yoga practice, where I can feel that sort of relief? Or is that the only way, to by raising the BPM, our blood pressure, our beats per minute, and of our heart, basically?
I think you can consider it like this, that after a certain period of time of doing a yoga practice daily, there are going to be fundamental changes to your physiology and especially to your brain, where everything that you've done day in and day out is going to lead you to a point where all of that preparation that took an arduous amount of time and energy and effort for you to be able to sit silently is going to compound to a point where it's no longer necessary, that you just kind of hit the next level. And I think it's a part really of our nature and how we are as human beings. Take language, for example. We don't have to stay at a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old level of trying to comprehend language. It just gets to the point where it just clicks in us that we're able to just speak fluently without having to think about what a house is or what a chair is or what a camera is. So it's the same thing with doing a practice, that you're going to then shape your body to the point where you can fine tune what your physical practice is, that you no longer need to do this hour and a half super intense breathing, that you can just sit, do refined posturing breathing, and then you're right in it and you can go from there.
Did you know that on YouTube, for some reason, naked yoga is allowed? And if you type in naked yoga, there's footage of women topless and men with their all hanging out doing yoga. Did you know that is allowed on YouTube?
I did not know that, but I'm not surprised, to
Tonight,
be
you,
honest.
as soon as, listen, Yogi Zorananda, I'm Primetime 99 Alex Stein. I'm on the grind all the time. I'm not kidding. Listen,
Yeah.
I can teach you something about yoga. When you leave this show, let me just tell you something. You're teaching me everything. I'm learning. I'm going to teach you one thing. You're going to go look on YouTube. You're going to look at naked yoga. You're never going to forget me the rest of your life after you see it. I swear. Forget the interview. You're going to be like, oh my God, this guy showed me this. You'll never. So, okay, so tell me, let me say this. So I was so addicted, and I kind of, looking back, I almost should have done it, but I'm obsessed with my cats. I didn't want to leave them, but I almost went to Florida to go to an ashram for 2 weeks to get my certification so I could do it all at once. So tell us kind of, what was your, like, certification journey? And did you meet a lot of chicks, and, like, was it a lot of heartbreak in yoga? I don't know. I mean, I don't need to hear about chicks. I'm just saying, like, kind of what was your experience at teacher training, being a male in a kind of female-oriented sport? You know what I mean? I mean that. I'm saying that kind of facetiously.
Yeah.
Not that
And
yoga isn't a sport. It is
it's,
a sport in a way, but you know what I mean.
yeah, I mean, it's obvious that in my trainings that I've done, there were many more women than there were men. Like, even in my 200-hour training that I did in 2012, I think there were 3 of us guys in it, but
That's my one thing. That's my one thing. I need to go back, guys. If you're single, go hang out in a yoga studio. You can meet so many single chicks. And chicks with girlfriends, but a lot of single chicks in a yoga studio. Go ahead. Sorry. That's a secret. People don't know that. See, Yogi, I tell people stuff they don't know. People would not know that there's a lot of single, good-looking chicks in a yoga studio. People would not know that probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's etiquette.
Of course, you can't be a creep.
You don't want to be that dude.
Of course, but dude, you can go and
do it for the yoga. Go there for the yoga. Meet good people and make a good impression. And naturally, you're gonna find someone that you click with and go from there, right?
But yes, at a yoga studio, people are more likely to be like, "Hey, you want to go get coffee after?" In a group or something. That's what I'm saying. Yoga's a good place to meet something because it's not. You can't be a creep if you're a creep at a yoga studio. People are like, "These guys are weirdo." You have to be very cool. You have to play it cool. You're in a yoga studio. But it's a nice place. If you go a couple times, people, we'll get coffee after, we get coffee before, whatever. It's a social scene that's very friendly, very welcoming social scene to people that might be lonely. I mean, for me, I actually had a girlfriend at the time, and it was real welcoming. I have a lot of friends that I met through yoga that I'm still friends with, talk to all the time on social media. So it is a welcoming thing for anybody that's out there that's like kind of just don't have a hobby that you can meet people. That is a good way to meet people. Okay, so tell us about your teacher training journey. Sorry.
Yeah, so my primary teaching is called Akanda Yoga, and it's led and created by a truly Himalayan yoga master named Yogrishi Vishvaketu. He's got a PhD in yoga, and he's one of the most legit on the earth, in my mind. And so I did my first 200-hour training with that school in 2012.
In India or somewhere? Where was it?
No, in the city that I'm from, here in Edmonton.
Okay.
And so I did it at a local studio. And
where are you located? Say that again.
I'm in Edmonton, Alberta.
Oh, Canada. You're a kid. Yeah. Hey, that's why you're cool. You're Canadian. Oh, so shit. Are you locked down real bad? Excuse my French. Are you all locked down? Are you okay? Because you're in Alberta. That's where Jordan Peterson's from. I just heard a thing. I didn't know that. Did you know that he's from Northern Alberta?
I think I did know that, yes.
Do you drink a lot of alcohol? You said Northern Alberta is a big time party place. I don't drink. I stopped drinking. That's what I'm saying. That's why I got into yoga too. A friend of mine died and I got totally sober. So I was like, the yoga was just a really good, it was a really good release. Okay, but what were we talking about? Sorry, I hijack all the things. I'm all over the place, Yogi. I'm sorry. I apologize. I want to tell me about your teacher training.
Yeah, so that year was pretty intense for me because I went to Thailand to a different yoga school for 2 months, and then came back to Canada and did my 200-hour yoga teacher training in August that same year. And the school is, in my opinion, one of the most authentic because it's coming from someone who is directly a part of one of the oldest yoga lineages from India called the Nat yoga lineage. Like his yoga master is directly from it. He was initiated into it. But then Vishwaji ended up branching out and creating his own school called Akanda Yoga. And
no meat at this school, right? Or is there meat? Was meat allowed?
No, it's vegetarian.
Yeah, they're all vegetarian. I don't eat meat either. Yeah. I don't eat meat, but I do eat a little bit of regular cheese, and I do it more for the digestive reason. What about you? Do you eat meat or are you vegetarian?
I was vegetarian for 6 years.
But you were so thin. You need to eat meat. You have to eat meat. You're probably too thin.
It's also just a part of my constitution. I started eating meat again in March of last year, and I basically stick to bison with occasional chicken and steaks, but I really wanted to be mindful of what I was getting back into, so I stay away from fast food and commercial meat.
That's lame. So you don't go to Olive Garden, dude? McDonald's, dude? That's not cool, bro. Chicken I don't eat meat, but I eat the fake chicken McNuggets. No. They're worse. I'm a soy boy. I'm worried about getting boobs. I swear. I'm worried about getting boobs because I'm eating all that fake soy. So
you just got to keep going to hot yoga and sweat it out,
I know. Well, okay. Before you get into that, but tell me that. How long were you vegetarian? Would you eat all that fake meat? Would you eat all that fake stuff, the soy stuff that I eat?
Yes. Yeah. So I was getting into it because I know it supplemented it fairly well. But try to avoid it as much as possible, and just largely stuck with like legumes and
Beans.
greens. Yeah.
A lot of farting now in this yoga studio. That's not that good. That's not a good place to be, especially when it's 100 degrees. And I've definitely passed gas in a yoga studio. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I'm not going to sit
Yeah,
here.
it's a natural
Yeah,
process. It happens.
it,
It's
it,
up and out.
it happens. But okay. Tell me this though. What about and maybe I'm going too far. I'm not trying to sound perverted. Tantric yoga, tantric sex. What is that? What's the deal with that? Is that a similar? Just tell me about it because I don't know about it. I hear about tantric sex, and heard of tantric yoga, but tell me what you know about it. And I mean that curious, seriously curious.
So when I was in Thailand, the school that I went to was largely a tantric school. They didn't outwardly say that they were a tantric school, but they had it as a fundamental part of their practice. And so I got to really dive into it intimately. I had a partner on the island that I met at the school that was teaching me a lot about Tantra. And essentially, Tantra is a response to really intense asceticism, where there's a philosophy in yoga of prakriti and purusha, where prakriti, if you would imagine a tree, prakriti are the branches, so it's the reaching out into the world, and purusha is the trunk. It's actually reaching down and up and out. And so asceticism really dives into purusha, while Tantra dives into prakriti. So it's going into the world and it's seeing all the pleasure, all the senses, and finding a oneness and enlightenment through all of the pleasure, right? And so it naturally dives into sexual energy because that's one of the greatest pleasures for humanity. And so it's how to harness that energy in a way where you can then advance yourself consciously by the utilization of that energy. And then obviously there's going to be misconceptions about it because we're coming out of the Kali Yuga, right? We're coming out of the Dark Age. So there's going to be a lot of old information that was rooted in a lot of this darkness, a lot of this fear and misconception that we've taken into and out of the Kali Yuga, and we still utilize without knowing it. But we need to really educate ourselves that the role of Tantra can be a personal endeavor that doesn't involve anyone else. It's how you just find the pleasure of going deep within yourself and seeing it, how it relates and affects the world around you, right?
Wow, you sound so classy when you say that. I'm serious. You're very eloquent. So I can tell that's why you have really dived into this. You know what you're talking about because you made that sound very nice, and very like something I want to get into. But the ultimate, the ultimate pleasure, the ultimate erogenous zones. I mean, how does that line up with getting all your chakras in line? And that's another thing is, gosh, I don't even know if you can say this word because it might be anti-Semitic, but the swastika sign, that sign was hijacked. Was one of the most famous. I'm not pro that sign, but that wasn't that a sign used in yoga as having all your chakras aligned? Wasn't that like the ultimate alignment? And I don't know if that's true or that's why I'm asking you.
So I think if you just see it as a wheel, and
A
that
wheel, okay.
it can be represented in either way, right? So you can have it turning in a clockwise way or a counterclockwise way. But that symbol itself, I don't think has anything to do with the kind of like yogic philosophy around the chakras. That the use of that symbol as a facade on a house is going to represent something personally based on the use of it, right? In which direction it's going to go. If it's going to be for prosperity or if it's going to be for protection, right? And so
That symbol is intense. I've just
yeah.
always wondered. I know there's not. That's a question I've always wondered because I remember I watched a yoga video and I freaked out. I saw that logo and I was like, wait, what is this? And they're like, And then how he's explained to me is like, oh, that's supposed to be the alignment of the chakras, but it wasn't a yoga person that told me that. So I've always wondered why that was, what that had to do with it. But I guess it really doesn't have anything to do with it, is what you're saying, basically.
No, the yogas have their, or the chakras have their own yantras. They have their own symbols, and they have their own mechanism in philosophy and psychology of why you're even using them. And so, yeah, if you want to get into it, that's something I've studied probably the most out of all of it. That's what actually got
Chakra
me
alignment.
into really going into yoga. Yeah.
What, the chakra alignment?
Well, not just the alignment, just the whole world and the whole system of it, right? Like what each chakra is, their Sanskrit name, their bija mantra, their yantra, the color, the
It's
psychology
complicated
around
stuff.
it.
How many
Yeah.
chakras do we have, rough? I mean, I know there's a hard number, but like, do some people have more than others, obviously?
Well, I think fundamentally there are seven,
Okay.
right? And it's because of how the nadi, or like the energetic system in the body works, where there are pooling centers for the vortices, and it's based on density, right? So you have the heaviest or the lowest kind of frequency energy at the bottom, and then you're going to have the lightest at the top, right? So say if you were mixing like oil and water, right, the one that's going to be the most dense is going to be sinking to the bottom, and the one less dense is going to be rising to the top. So you have that with the kind of wavelengths and the frequencies of these pooling vortices that are a part of our nervous system. They're a part of our endocrine system and just kind of how we function.
Well, how can we help people right now that are watching this tap into their chakras? Is there a way we can do it digitally? I mean, what is it? Just define what a chakra is for people playing at home that don't know what we're talking about when we say the 7 chakras.
Yeah. So simply the word chakra just means wheel. And the system is broken up into 7 parts, and each wheel has qualities and properties to them. And so if you were to start from the bottom and work your way up, the lowest to the highest, the qualities are going to work with the most fundamental earthly to the most fundamental spiritually, right? So the root chakra, or Muladhara chakra, is the center for your ancestry, your family, survival, security, right? So the way that I applied the chakras to my life is I went into each one and I looked at the psychological properties, and I say, how does these things relate? And what can I do to make them the most harmonious in my life? Right. So say, let's go to the most like controversial one, right? Svadhisthana, the second chakra, the one for sexual energy and creation, right? Why are we pulled to only express our sexual energy in a way that's kind of domineering, especially when it comes to like being a male and interacting with women in our life, right? What I did is I asked myself, if I have women in my life and I want to work on the purest aspect of this chakra, how can I facilitate interactions with women that support creativity? And so if women come into my life and there's a natural attraction that's going to be obvious, right? That rather than stooping to a programmed level of only seeking out validation through sexual expression, I can make the choice to see that the connection there can flourish in a more creative way. And seeing how that transforms into a sexual partnership, if that's potential, and following it as harmonious as possible. But that takes work, that takes practice and effort. And so it's not just a mind thing. This is where the yoga practice is going to come into play, because the yoga practice is going to help with actually changing your biomechanics and your psychology and your brain itself to actually process this kind of thinking.
Well, I know that's right because I've definitely touched my chakra down there a lot of times, and I don't have any control over it. So I know you're not joking when you say that. But okay, so tell us. I want to keep going to the chakras. Does the pineal gland? What chakra is that? The pineal gland. What chakra is that, basically?
So that is your sixth chakra, and I think that one, especially the top three, so your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown, are the most misrepresented and the most unknown and
well, then we've got this
misguided
three.
around.
We've got this three real quick, and I know with the second chakra, do we have two in our feet or just one at our root? Or there's two in our feet?
So there's one at the base of the spine,
Okay.
which is the root chakra. There's one at the reproductive organs. There's one in the kind of stomach at the navel called Manipura. And then there's one at the heart called Anahata. And then you have Vishuddha, which is at the throat, and then Ajna, which is at the eye, and crown, which is obviously Sahasrara.
That's one of my favorite feelings in the back bend when you open your throat. Why is that? Why is that so? I mean, before we get into all the chakras, why does it feel so good to open your heart and open your throat like that?
Yeah, because most of the time we are sitting in positions where we're hunched over and we're rounding. We have just this tightness here and we're compressing into our chest. So when we have the opportunity to open and stretch,
it feels so good. The wheel, but especially when the back bend, when your neck like that, that's the best stretch there is.
We also have really important glands right here. So you have your thyroid glands, and then right above the heart, you have your thymus gland. So this is actually connected to the hippocampus and regulates oxytocin. So if you're always like this, and you're always scrunched, and you're always tight, and you're putting this kind of like shield around your heart, and you're squeezing in your thymus, then you're going to actually cut off blood flow to the center that deals with oxytocin, and you're going to be cut off from people because oxytocin deals with actually connection and interpersonal.
That's what makes you
relationship.
Oxytocin is what happens when it releases when you have sex with a person extremely, and that makes you attached. When there's a connection of oxytocin, it's intense. That's why I mean there's no break like a heartbreak. I mean that's that oxytocin break will shut a person down. It shut me down. I've been dumped. I mean you've been. I mean I'm just saying it's weird that oxytocin.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. And especially if we're creating a dependency on another person to trigger the release of our oxytocin, right? So that's, I think, a part of the heartbreak is that we then no longer have that person who's going to trigger that release for us. So then we actually have to learn to rebuild that connection ourselves. And so that's, again, how yoga is going to play into then doing these postures where you're not only opening all the time, but you are squeezing in and you are rounding in. And you're doing this thing where you put pressure in and then you open up to release. So then you can have this kind of recycling and repatterning taking place.
Wow, gosh. I mean, that oxytocin and that breakup story is crazy because it's like love is your drug. You feel like you're never going to find that other person, but it's probably because you're just strung out on oxytocin. You're strung out for that oxytocin. Because when you really can get after a breakup and you can kind of get out, a week or two or three from it, you can usually get your head on straight. Usually, most people, some people can't. But you're right that first few days after, like, there's just that period of that oxytocin withdrawal. And I never thought about it like that. That is really deep. So with the chakras, let's get back into that and kind of tell us, like, what do people need to know about those chakras? I mean, I know you can't sum up your whole practice in a few words, and I wouldn't expect that. But just kind of, give us I want to hear more about what you have to say about the chakras. That was really interesting because you're talking about the sex organ, and then tell. I would like to hear about all the chakras if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'll explain it this way. Yeah. Okay. An easy way to understand how the system works is by looking at just the psychological parts of it. So like I was saying, the root has to deal with security and family and ancestry. The second has to do with creativity and sexual drive and sexual energy.
So we get our creativity from our sexual organs? Kind of,
Yeah.
really, that makes sense. But see, the thing is, I'm not overly sexual, but I feel like I'm really creative. Does that make sense? But I guess that's,
Have you
well,
seen that Seinfeld episode where
I've seen
George,
everyone.
where George stops having sex and all of a sudden he becomes this like genius?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
like,
my favorite one I've been using lately is the where he's brutally honest with girls and he starts getting with all the chicks.
yeah.
I just tell people I'm just like brutally honest with girls, and you can't only be so brutally honest, but like basically if you're just brutally honest, you don't tell them you're the most embarrassing things ever, but you just tell people honest. That works way better with chicks than even trying to put on a show. But you're right, when you stop having sex, you become like a superhero. Basically, you get superpowers.
But the thing is that it's properly channeling it, right? Like you can stop having sex and not properly channel it and become like belligerent, right? Like because you're not utilizing all the buildup of that energy to put it into something that's going to actually benefit you, right? Where George is like learning a language, he's learning how to cook, he's like learning like crazy mathematics and like and all these things, right? So we move up to the third Manipura. That's your center of individuality and personal drive. It's your fire, right? It's what is going to introduce how you carve out your life for yourself, right? Where the second chakra is about society. It's how you are part of the ocean of humanity. That's why the element is water, right? And then we get up to the heart, anahata. This is where things change. This is now the element of air, and it's entering into the realization that there is unconditional love and there is compassion and there's empathy. And it's then opening up to the gateway and the bridge, which is the throat. Think about it, right? Your neck is literally a bridge from your torso to your head, right? So Vishuddha is the element of space and ether, and it connects to Ajna, which is the center of clarity and vision, which you actually use to look into Sahasrara to then channel all of that energy, all of the earthly, water, fire, air, and you compress it and you bring it up and out so that you come back to who you are as all that there is, right? But it's so easy to say that. That's the thing, is that most yogis, especially Western yogis, they'll say that and they're like, oh, isn't it great? Yes, go up and out. But do it. How do you do it? Right?
It's almost
That's the really
impossible,
thing.
right? I mean, I've seen people do all kinds of breathing exercises. I mean, it's almost impossible to actually go over the top unless you're having some sort of like emotional, spiritual reaction. Am I wrong? Like, don't you really have to be into the zone to even have that, or can you reach it
Well,
because you're such a pro?
this is where there's a large misconception of what meditation is. That what people think of as meditation isn't actually meditation. It's just the beginning parts of sense withdrawal. So when you get that app that's like, oh, we're going to do a guided meditation for the next 10 minutes. Sit quietly and listen to the rushing waters as you feel yourself on the stone and feel yourself taking in, inhale and exhale. So all of that just for 10 minutes, you're only going through the first part of what it actually means to completely shut off your peripheral nervous system. And most people can't even do it, right? So what they think of as meditation, of what they're doing, isn't actually meditation, because they're still in their body, they're still in their sympathetic nervous system, they're still in the processing of the beta wave state of the brain, right? You need to shut down your peripheral nervous system and go into a complete sense withdrawal so you can change your beta brain state into alpha and go deeper beyond that. Meditation traditionally isn't until dhyana, right? So this is the thing that people just don't know, because it gets kind of deep in
Let's
like
go there.
Ashtanga yoga. It gets deep into these Sanskrit words, right? So meditation in its entirely in the yoga system is composed of pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So to actually get into a meditative state, you have to first do a full sense withdrawal. so that you are present as consciousness and your body is no longer at all in the precipice of your forefront of your focus, right? So even right now, we're sitting here,
And we're in
our
beta. We're
bodies,
in beta right now because we're thinking, we're talking, we're
yeah,
the opposite of relaxed. I mean, I'm relaxed, but you know what I mean. We're talking, our brain is working. And so you're saying that we go from beta to alpha, and these are levels of the deepest alpha brain waves, basically shutting down so much so.
yeah, where there's a switch from an energy output to an energy input, where instead of unconsciously the energy of your nervous system going out into your peripheral, so into your limbs, right, into the nerves of your limbs of your arms, where all of that energy is drawn into your spine. And once it's drawn into your spine, it's brought up into the center of your third eye and it's taken out. And so at that point, just because of the concentration of it, the ability to go out becomes completely innate. You don't even have to think about it. It's not something that you have to use willpower for. It's not like when you're in your conscious mind right now, where you have to try to use your willpower to stop your mind. At this point, the sense withdrawal totally diverts any thinking. So
It's the deepest
that,
of the deep. I mean, when you're in that alpha, you're not even thinking about. I mean, and can you can only reach this after a long. I mean, after a long yoga session, you believe, or you say?
well, the yoga session is going to prepare your body for not moving at all, right? So when you become seated, you're completely still. There's not one single fidget, there's not one single movement. You are completely 100%
Is it
still.
wait? Is it you're gonna be able to meditate better sitting, seated, than a lying down? Because I know your practice is seated. Why do you are you just strong in your seat? Because even sitting in a yoga position takes strength.
Yeah, and it's also something that the body does when you're horizontal, that it actually triggers to the release of melatonin. So you don't want the release of melatonin. You want to
That's too
stay in
far.
an alert mind.
That takes you almost to a sleep. So you basically want to get to
Yeah.
where you're asleep, but you want to be awake to where your body is just shut down, where it is not functioning whatsoever. I mean, am I saying that incorrectly?
Um, no, but I think what happens is that it's hard to comprehend because we're so attached to our body and we're so attached to the operation of our body that the even the trying to conceive completely shutting down your body is not going to click for people. But the thing is, it's a natural phenomena that occurs, and the yoga practice is the preparation for it. And so this is why Ashtanga yoga, the original Ashtanga yoga by Patanjali, was created as a system that you progress to that point, because you're going to want to be able to completely let go of your body and be okay with where it is, and that it's going to be taken care of, and that you essentially can merge your senses with the environment around you. So you really feel like there's no differentiation between the outside of your skin and the space around you. And in my own experience, the way that I do it is when I have my hands clasped in my lap, I get to the point where I can't tell the difference between my left or right hand. They just become almost one hand.
Wow.
And then I allow that to grow into my arms. So I can't tell the difference between my arms. It goes into my legs. And then it just like is like a switch, it clicks. And I can't even tell the difference between what part of my body is what. And then I'm just totally presently focused right in the present moment. And that switch, there's no longer a capacity for thinking, because all the faculties that go into this stream of thought from the beta wave is turned off. And it's from that point in there that you go into dharana, which is concentration. And yet your goal is to concentrate as much as possible. And like not concentrate and like, oh, I have to concentrate on this work I'm doing. It's a literal concentration of like you're compressing your energetic system, and you're compressing and compressing and compressing and compressing to the point where it implodes. And then you have the total experience of expansion.
Wow, it's like they say the Big Bang, everything comes from nothing, which I don't believe. But I'm just saying,
Well, here's my theory that
okay.
I know a lot of people are not going to agree with. My
Mm.
theory is that we have a black hole inside of us, and what we're doing is we're compressing our energetic system into the black hole, and we're expanding it into that, and we're actually flipping ourselves from a particle into a wave, and we're experiencing time space as consciousness, where time is a complete realm in and of itself, and filling that realm is compassion and unconditional love and empathy, and that we exist as an awareness in that realm of time. And at any point, we can bring up actually still frames of space. So we travel through time and we see everything that can be composed in space. And that we can actually look into one little frame of space and we can expand into it, and we can go into it, and we're a whole other realm.
I love that. Okay, that's deep. Okay, but I want to expand on the meditation thing. For me, the deepest meditation I've ever been able to achieve is when after a yoga practice, when I'm in the shavasana, when I'm horizontal, maybe because it's so close to being melatonin, especially in the morning. Like when I would do it at like 6 in the morning, and it would be around like 7:30 after a hot yoga practice, I would be so relaxed on my mat with my shirt off, just comfortable. I mean, just I can't when I say comfortable, guys, it was like I was on a cloud. It's how I describe it. My back, when I say you're rooted in the ground, like you said, your hand was connected together. I felt like my back was in the ground. My back and the ground
Yeah.
were stuck. We're one thing. I was cemented into it. And I know there's different ways you can get into it. But for me, I'm telling you that, and I only, I went a bunch of days in a row. I was chasing that dragon for sure. And then I still go after. I just really, and once it's Corona stuff, I've the past once they started making me wear a mask during it, I stopped going because I'm not gonna wear a mask while I do my practice, dude. I wasn't going to do that, and now it's cool, I guess. So I might try to go back, but that's the only reason I stopped my practice. But it's been 14 months, and I mean sometimes I'll do it YouTube, whatever. I'll do freaking. I like the Yin Yoga. I know that's really slow, but I like to put my mat on there. I like to be like 10 minutes on one shoulder, 10 minutes on the other, and just that's another way I like to meditate is through the Yin Yoga, is holding the poses for a long time. And
Yeah, that was one of the main classes that I was teaching prior to the whole onset of the pandemic. So I was mainly teaching like hot yoga, hatha yoga, akanda yoga that I was trained under, and then yin yoga. So yeah, yin is amazing. I love it.
why is that such a good one? For the people at home, tell them what Yin Yoga is that you can describe it better than I can.
Yeah, I think out of the practices, it's going to be the one that's going to bring you closest into a meditative state, because it allows a larger variety of people to come in because the postures are,
More welcoming.
yeah, they're gentler. You're holding the postures a little bit longer, and you can just really allow yourself to relax,
And
right?
that's one thing. Let me cut
Especially,
you off. Anybody, guys, you're like, what is Yin Yoga? You guys can be 500 pounds, and you could go into a yoga studio or to a Yin Yoga class, and they would give you some sort of, a block or some sort of way to be able to do the position. I'm just saying, Yin Yoga, even though some of the positions can be slightly awkward and uncomfortable, but they really anybody can do it. So you're seeing Yogi Zorananda. He's very lean, fit. You see me, I'm very handsome, and you're like, hey, I'm just kidding. I'm not that good looking, but I'm saying you don't have to be a young viral man. Anybody any size can do yoga, and especially Yin Yoga. I really encourage people out there at any age. You don't have to be some of this fast yoga. You're doing, the sun salutations. It's hot, this and that. That might be a little challenging to somebody, but Yin Yoga for everybody. Do you recommend that for all ages and sizes?
yeah, I do. And that's really just because of the accessibility, and there's the availability of props, right? Of bolsters and blocks and straps. Um, and so if there's anything that would be a good stepping stone into a deeper practice, yin yoga is going to be great because you're going to learn a lot of fundamental postures, that you're going to be able to retain, and you're going to want to go back to that class. Because I think some people jump into a hot yoga class in the first like time they ever do it, and they end up regretting it because it just fucking kicks their ass.
Kicks their
And
ass. It kicks.
yeah,
That's what happened with my girlfriend. I brought her I was begging her, and she went to a couple, but I brought her to a couple of hard classes. And dude, it kicked her ass. She never would go back in there. I've regretted that. I hated that I did that to her and did her a hot yoga class like that. Because my first classes were yin, slow classes. I would do like the 10 p.m. class, the like the chill yoga. I mean, you would do some sun salutations, and then the back half would be like yin. And so I threw her into the wolves. I thought I shouldn't have done that. Like you just said, guys, for you yoga amateurs, and like I said, I'm still an amateur, but I'm a yogi in training. I'm a yogi in practice. You don't want to throw yourself into a 100-degree, 90, even 90-degree hot yoga session if you've never done a class. But you should go to a beginner class. I mean, any beginner class would be totally fine. Sorry I cut you off. I just can't believe my girl. I feel bad, Lexanne. I did her like that. I brought her that yoga class. She never went to a yoga class ever again after that with me. Except for a goat yoga class on some, Groupon or something we went to.
yeah. Ooh, this looks like fun.
Yeah.
And just get walked all over.
Yeah. Well, she just wanted the Instagram picture, but who cares? Yeah, it's
yeah.
fun. We're we like to have fun. What were we just saying though? What did I cut you off? Did I cut you off or what? Okay.
Well, I think just the deeper workings of meditation.
Where do you stand on this? Let's go curveball. Where do you stand on 9/11? You're in Alberta. You're in Canada. Are you familiar with the terror attacks on September 11th, 2001?
Yeah, that's a curveball. I was in grade 8 when I saw it, and I thought
Oh,
it was
so I'm
weird
1 year older. I was a freshman. That's cool. So I was 13.
Yeah.
You were 13 or you 12?
I was 12.
Okay, 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought it was weird because then my school announced it and we went to the library to watch it. And I heard recently that like that was the standard thing to do.
We went to the cafeteria and had it on the Jumbotron in the cafeteria. Every school did it. Yeah. It's like the moon landing, dude. That was a trauma-based mind control. It was you talk about seeing a space in time. That was like the biggest loose trap or what do I want to? I don't even know. Subliminal brainwash. Trauma-based mind control, MK Ultra event of all time. I mean, so sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
So yes, I went into as much as I possibly could about understanding the event, and as obviously tragic as it is, and obviously questionable as it is, of like comparing controlled demolition to something that mimics it or replicates it so perfectly, that what I thought was how strange it is that this event took place and sent a ripple and a wave across the world, right? Where it was viewed by millions and millions of people, and the effect that it had on everyone's consciousness and fundamentally changing how so many people saw America, so many people saw this new idea of like terrorist threats. And I just thought it was interesting that there was this, like you said, this traumatic event that just sent a shockwave of fear around the world, right? And so that's really what I focused in on, is like, why would that happen? Why did it happen? And what precedent that set into the future to the point that we're in now, and how it fundamentally changed how the world was going. And it starts to make sense that there seems to be these events that are plugged into the fabric of who we are to fundamentally change the course and the direction of which we're going, right? So you look at that event, you look at presidential elections, you look at other terrorist attacks, you look at pandemics, that there's this seeming effort to pave the way for more and more events to take place. And it's hard to think about, it's not an easy thing.
Tough pill to swallow. Tough pill to swallow.
Because there's so many players, there's so many moving parts that it's it almost seems not worth to dive into if you're just a regular person in a mundane world where you're like, ah, fuck, I don't have time for that. I don't care. It's a conspiracy theory. I'm just going to move on with my life. But I think the lesson that it shows is that there's great power in creating illusion. There's great power in planting seeds of ideas into people's minds. And so that not only in little communities, but in millions of people where you're planting these seeds. And so then when each person is harboring this seed and they're allowing it to grow within them without even knowing, we're a part of growing something that we didn't actually consent to. Did any of us consent to having these World Trade Centers bombed or whatever blown up in whatever fashion to be destroyed, and then to be a child and watch it on TV and have these ideas of terrorism? We didn't consent to any of that, and yet it happened. And so what I take from it is that when it comes to manifesting my life, I consent to the direction that it goes, and I use that kind of fundamental way of implementing events. So you can take that and you can go in a very positive and very caring and loving direction, and that you are implementing events in your life consciously with the people around you and the community around you so that you can shape the world that you're in. And I think that is what's lost on us. And that's how we're taking advantage of. And
is that part of what you're saying, your future life progression? Because I just checked out a little bit, but kind of dive into that. What does that have to do with these manifestation of these events and not being in our control? Like, what can we control?
I'm just gonna close my blind quickly
Oh,
because the sun is coming.
oh, no
It's
problem, no problem.
there we go. That's better. Yes. So future life progression is, in the way that I've created it, is a step-by-step modality of exercises and meditations, particularly to go into your heart, to go into its realm of unconditional love and compassion, and through that create a container so that you can contact and meet your future self. Because there's a fundamental truth to this. Your heart that is beating right now, so all 88 people watching this on YouTube and wherever else, Facebook, Instagram, your heart right now is beating. Yesterday it was beating. Tomorrow it will beat. Okay. 2 days from now, it will continue beating. A week from now, your heart will be beating. 3 months from now, a year from now. All of those hearts are communicating with each other through their electromagnetic field. And so through this connection and through this communication, when you go into your heart, you go into the intelligence that allows for that connection to be alive and conscious. And in there, you can then direct to which heart that you want to connect to, whether it's in the future, in the past. It can be past lives hearts. It can be future life hearts a year from now or the next life. That power is up to you. That cannot be taken from you, from anyone, no matter what they say, because it's your fucking heart. And it's your choice to go into it and say, you know what? I know that my heart is powerful and intelligent. And so I'm going to talk to my heart that exists tomorrow. Because you know what? The ability to look back on the past, even right now, you can look back at a week ago, a year ago, when you were 5 years old, right? That means your future self is doing that right now. That means tomorrow,
wait,
you are
that's
thinking
deep.
about this
That's deep.
right now.
Wow.
And you will have a memory of it. And that is what's connecting it. And so who is saying, and why are they saying that the future is unknown and you can't know the future when it's not up to them? It's up to you.
Wow, that's deep that you can connect to your future self in that way. Well, how does the connection work? Is it like a ladder? Is it like levels, or is it like a circle? I mean, in your mind, I mean, I guess maybe is it not a shape? It's just like you're exuding time backwards and forwards, I guess.
Yeah. So for me, and the way that I set up future life regression is that it's a visual guided meditation. It starts simple. So we just close our eyes, feel ourselves going down into our heart. Then we imagine a stairway or a bridge, and we go across the bridge to a door, and we go into the door into white light. And we're in a whole realm, in a whole like room of light. And it's from there that a door will appear and a future self will come through it. And you can interact with the future self that comes through.
And how do we do this? How do we join your practice and do this? I want to do this.
Yeah. So right
I have your website
now,
in the description so that where people can find you. But
yeah.
tell us.
So right now on my website, I have the meditations all recorded and set up, so you can purchase one of the meditations and you can do the whole thing. And I have particular exercises that go along with it as well. That is a part of the discourse on or in the book. And
Some
right
people in the
now,
chat real quick are saying I wouldn't want to know the future, but I mean, I don't know. I don't. When you speak to your future self, do you know the whole future? I'm sure there's still obviously you don't know that much. I mean, you can only explain, because that isn't a way. I guess I wouldn't want to know when I die. There's some stuff I wouldn't want to know.
so the thing is, we all want the best for ourselves, right? We want to be able to make a good amount of money. We want, either if we do want a family or we don't, we want a good place that is a home. We want a good vehicle that'll get us around. We want to know that in 2 years from now that we can work on our credit. We can, be able to finance a vehicle if that means something, to, buy a house, right? So you got to ask yourself, if how you're living right now, is that really working? And is that going to get you those things? Because chances are there are patterns and there are habits that are going to prevent you from getting those things. And what contacting your future self is going to do is it's going to put you face to face with the version of yourself that has those things and that is living that life. So that's not to say that your future self is going to be like, sorry to say, bud, but you're going to die in 4 years, right?
Nobody wants that.
You are in control of this communication, right? So when you're going into your heart and you're doing this work, you are directly going, okay, I'm on this trajectory in my life. Okay. I know that I'm saving up, or I'm, trying to get a good place. I want to meet my future self that has that good place. And how do they feel like? What do they look like? What's their presence like? Because then that information is going to be a motivating factor for you to make changes so that you can be that way. And that's what it's about. It's more about presence and being than knowing any kind of like little particular facts, right? Because you want to leave that as unknowns. You want to be surprised about things. This isn't about like, okay, in 5 years on September 18th at 9:30 a.m., what the fuck's going to happen? Right. And it's like, relax about that. Okay. This is so that you are in the driver's seat of how you're going to manifest your life. And it's not going to be perfect, right? Because there are always going to be unforeseen circumstances. And that's part of the initiation of your life and how you're going to evolve as a person. And having these tools is going to help you overcome the obstacles rather than be faced with the obstacles and be utterly obliterated because you didn't have the foresight of even having a clue that anything was going to happen. And so in this case, contacting your future self, you are innately going to have the intuition to be like, you know what? Some challenges are going to come up in my life. And, I want to be ready for them, you know? And if that's financial troubles, I'm going to start investing. I'm going to start looking into cryptocurrency. I'm going to start looking into Amazon seller accounts. I'm going to start having multiple forms of income, because who knows, maybe in 2 years, something's going to happen where I'm not going to be able to work the way I do, you know? And that is guidance and intuition coming from your future self, because there's a future self who is living that way. And wouldn't you want to live that way?
You want to
Wouldn't
get
you
there?
want?
How does
Yeah.
gratitude fit in, though? I mean, how does gratitude, because if you want to fix your future self, doesn't that kind of not go against gratitude? Obviously, you have to have a gratitude, probably to even connect with yourself. But you know what I mean? Like, I got a tough life. Should I be grateful for it no matter what kind of deal?
So gratitude is what you're exuding out into your environment. It's not something that you're taking from your environment. It's not that, oh, I have these events or I have these things, these situations, I want to try to pull gratitude out of it. It's just that when you are faced with a situation and you're say, I'm grateful for what I have and I'm grateful for the people that are in my life, and you are putting that gratitude into it. And that is an exercise. That is something that takes some kind of willpower, because sometimes, for a lot of people, most of the time, there's a trigger to be aggressive and angry about unforeseen circumstances. And so, doing yoga, doing these kind of meditations is allowing us to see that the circumstance changes when we are applying a new outlook to it, right? And so when we apply gratitude, at first, some of the people in our life aren't going to really like it. And you just have to say, well, tough shit, because this is how I am now. And I'm going to be a person that has more gratitude, has more empathy and compassion, not because I'm weak, not because that is something fluffy, but because it actually gives me an inner strength of how to change my life for the better. And even listen to how my voice is. Look at how I am, right? I love being compassionate and I love being empathetic. And I go and work out really hard every week, right? And I have physically exhausting jobs and I'm a strong person. And I've built myself to that with the compassion in hand, with the empathy in hand, you know?
I know, and that's hard. It's just such a hard thing to do, to actually be grounded in that. Okay, before and then that's lately my ass has been dragging. I've been dragging ass. What is help me get my energy levels? I know you can't just say a word, but I mean, why are my energy levels low? Is that with my chakras? Is it what's going on in society bringing me down? I mean, why I'm just, for me, I know you're not a doctor, but I've just seen my energy levels decrease, and I'm high energy guy. I'm a like we're electromagnetic beings. I'm usually giving off energy, and I can just tell lately I feel like I'm almost sucking energy. I'm not
Mhm.
exuding it as much.
Yes. So we have three realms of health. Okay. We have physical health, we have mental and emotional health, and we have spiritual health. We naturally will tend to physical health, we'll try our best in having the right supplements and eating healthier, right? Like, and mental health is going to be around doing meditation and kind of watching what we're digesting mentally. And the one that's neglected is spiritual health. And the way that we implement spiritual health is by devotion and having a sense of connection to divinity that is your own personal divinity, and that you are fed by that divinity. You are fed by that devotion. And so that where you see you're being drained, I think, is that by applying the devotion to divinity, whatever is draining you on a fundamentally energetic level or a spiritual level is going to be taken out of the picture, right? And so, what allows you to have that kind of devotional application is by being really honest with how healthy you are as a person, right? So physically, how are you devoted to your physical health? Mentally, how devoted are you to your mental health? And then lastly, how devoted are you to your spiritual health? And that then devotion is a facet in all realms, because we're not taught that. We're not shown that. Look at the scientific community, right? Their two biggest things is physical health and mental health, right? There's no spiritual health in science.
None.
And there's a reason for that, right?
Anti spiritual health. I mean, they don't even want you to. They think you're crazy if you believe in God. Basically, it's a mental disorder.
Yes. And it's because devotion to yourself in that way gives you a power that the world of science and government, they want. They want the devotion. They want you to be devoted to them. And so when you take that power back and you're devoted to yourself and you apply it into those three realms, you're going to have a freedom that you've never felt before. You're going to have an aliveness that you've never felt before. And so that feeling being drained is naturally going to go away because you've taken control. And that, I think, is what's really important right now in our era, in this age, is that we say, you know what? I can take care of my own health. I can take care of my own mentality, my own spirituality. The government and science and religion, you do your thing. I'm not going to step in. I'm not going to try to divert anything. That's okay. You be you. I'm going to be me. And then it's a lot of study. You have to look into, what does it mean to be physically healthy? You know, what kind of foods are you eating? What kind of exercise are you doing? What does it mean to be mentally healthy? What does it mean to be spiritual healthy? And then that aspect of devotion, it's for the rest of your life. It's for the rest of your life. There's no, I'm going to do it for 5 years and I'm going to stop. For the rest of your life. It's this.
Full devotion. And I believe they want to hide the creator. And so tell us, what do you think? What is your spiritual, what is the origin story for Earth from your teachings and research?
Oh, that's that's a big question. And I'm still uncovering it. But my what makes sense to me is what Graham Hancock is doing, is that our society right now is basically a piggyback off of a human society that existed before a cataclysm. So
I kind of like this. Wait, I haven't heard this story. I'm saying I feel like our timeline is so messed up. I mean, there's a, I believe there's some sort of timeline before us that got erased that we don't even know about. Maybe multiple ones. But go ahead. I haven't heard this Graham Hancock. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
yeah. So
It's probably really complex. I know it's hard to kind of reiterate, those intense things, but you're so woo woo. I mean that nice. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I like
Just trying to find a book of mine. Where is it? So in Graham Hancock's world of what he does, he's looking at a catastrophe, basically a meteor impact, 12,800 years ago in the Arctic. And what he's trying to prove is that there was an advanced civilization, like a human civilization, that lived and was wiped out. And the remaining survivors went around the world to hunter-gatherer tribes and taught them like the advanced aspect of their society. So the basic ones of like agriculture, like government, architecture. Yeah. And so I've made a connection from that with the work of Swami Sri Yukteswar. He was Yogananda's guru, and he wrote a book called The Holy Science, which I'm going to try to get.
The Holy Science. You can take your time, get it. You can look for a second. Yeah. The Holy Science. This is interesting. I like it.
Yeah,
okay.
So this book right here.
Let's see if people can see it better. The holy science. Let's see.
Swami Shri Yukteswar.
Let's see. Give us the details.
Yes. So, what he went into in his book is detailing the accurate depiction of the Yugas. So I'm going to go this way. And it's corresponding with the precession of the earth. So it has the zodiacs.
Yes.
And at the bottom you see Kali Yuga. And if you go up to the left or to the right, you have Dwapara, you have Treta, and then you have the Satya Yuga. And the size of the cycles in his calculation matches up with the 26,000 year precession,
timeline,
where there's an ascending arc upwards from the Kali to the Satya, and a descending arc from the Satya to the Kali. And so Kali is 1,100 years, Dwapara is 2,400 years, Treta is 3,600 years, Satya is 4,800 years in the first arc, and then it's the same amount of time in the bottom arc. And so what this represents, so this wheel is a cycle of human civilization. And so humanity goes through the darkest part of their consciousness, of material possession, material focus. I'm just gonna kind of back up this way here.
as if you're backlit, it's gonna get on your face. It's kind of maybe move your chair to the. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You look cool. It gives you kind of like a cool aura.
Yeah, I think
close your blind. You can't close it, or it won't be bright.
It is closed. It's just that
it's that
yeah,
bright.
It's not the best.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, there we go.
The ladies want to see though. Melissa was complaining. Melissa said she wanted you to manifest those blinds closed, but they didn't realize Melissa they are closed. I think Melissa wants to. She's in Canada, I believe. Maybe she wants to meet you. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
There we go. And so this cycle in these yugas affects human consciousness, where the Kali Yuga is the most materialistic, the Satya Yuga is the most spiritual.
The most materialistic has to be the worst, right? I mean, isn't that terrible to be?
Yeah, so that is going to be like where our technology is at its least, right? So this is where like the dark ages, where everyone is on in horseback, and there's feudalism, and
people are pooping on the streets or whatever. There's no I mean, it's old school.
Yeah.
There's no plumbing.
And so the connection that I've made between Graham Hancock and this is that 12,800 years ago is at the end of the last Satya Yuga. And that the cataclysm of the meteors brought an end to that civilization to usher in the degrading of humanity through the next 8,000 years of cycles, right? So then the next wave of humanity that's going down through this degradation has to survive and get to the lowest point to come back up. And so we've done that, and Swami Shri Yukteswar here basically calculated that the end of the Kali Yuga in 1896, and that we entered into the age of, or the Dwapara, which is the age of electricity.
Is that good or bad? Is that good or bad?
Well, that's good because we're ascending. We're going back to the Satya.
So we are moving in the hold on. We are moving in the right direction. I would have thought we're moving in the wrong direction. Okay, go ahead. This is positive.
No, look at the advancements that are going on and continue to go on, right? So
are humans living longer though? I don't know. I mean, they say we are, but I think there are a lot of infant deaths. That's why the numbers are lower. I think everybody lived to 100 back in the day. I could be wrong. You know what I mean?
But the thing is, it has to do with the direction of advancement that we're going in, right? So if you were to look back at like 300 years ago and the state of cities, right, to now, especially
But that, aren't we going to get over civilized to where we're almost this is what I believe is I think that I'm the conspiracy castle. I haven't really told you a lot about my views, but I believe that there is some sort of new world order that has a transhumanist agenda that wants us to be all race and one and all the same sex in the future. I'm talking about thousands of years from now. They really want to destroy the nuclear home, and they basically want us made in labs, and they. We're basically already there in a weird way where our phones, we're stuck in a digital jail cell. And I think very soon in the future, that's going to be the next thing is we'll have the Patriot Act 2.0. You'll have the Canadian version. And it'll be, what we'll do is we'll give them, like when 9/11 happened, we gave them the Patriot Act. And that was the ability of warrantless search and seizure of our emails and our phone calls. So what I think in the future is we're just going to give them full access to our phone so that if we do commit a crime or something, they can go back. The people can always go back to your microphone, or they can go back to your camera at the scene of a crime and see if you were there, see what you were doing, see if you're making noise, and they can read your emails. They'll be able to read your phone. You'll have no privacy, and it'll be all done under the guise of safety for everybody else. So doesn't that seem like a turmoil more than good? I mean, and I hope you're right. I'm not saying calling you wrong. I don't want to come across like that. I kind of err on the side of I'm worried for the future. It seems kind of bleak. So I'm happy that you have a positive attitude to make me feel better.
So the thing to consider with these cycles is that there's thousands of years, right? And so what we're going through is a blip in the grand scheme of those cycles. And obviously, what's happening to us now is concerning. However, all of those ideas, so what?
So
right? Because
we won't be victims of it. We'll be gone by then. But we could. I mean, well.
The thing is, the growth of yoga has been so exponential over the last less than 100 years that there's no stopping it. Regardless of a pandemic, regardless of what, like, this is the thing that I realized with the pandemic, okay? Prior to all the lockdowns, all the shutdowns, and all the ceasing of traveling and airplanes and everything, there were festivals all over the world where tens of thousands to sometimes hundreds of thousands of people would gather for spiritual purposes outside of religions. So a lot of festivals, like in Costa Rica, Envision, I've been to that festival.
I'm saying all kinds of festivals. People need to know the whole festival world shut down. Sorry, keep going. It's just that was a huge industry where people meet each other, have the best experience of their life. I've had some of the best experiences of my life at festivals, and I haven't been to a concert in 14 months. But
yeah, so for decades, pretty much ever since Woodstock, because that kind of started it, right? Where you had thousands of people gathering together to do yoga, to meditate, to do ceremony together, to listen to music and dance and love all over the world, right? And a lot of these festivals, the organizers picked locations on ley lines. A lot of them, they picked very particular places that were very potent energetically, right? So that is going to come back 100-fold. And that is going to make a huge wave that's going to be even stronger than anything that any of these pandemics, anything can do, right? And that's why I don't have a fear that we're going to go into this like turmoil of Armageddon and all this crazy shit and mass surveillance and whatever, is because ever since Swami Vivekananda, so this man right here, he was the first yogi to come to America in the late 1800s, right? He started it. For him, he was the one that brought yoga to the West. Then came Yogananda. Then came BKS Iyengar and Pattabhi Jois and Krishnamacharya and Bikram. There's a whole other wave coming. And there's going to be another wave of yoga and another wave, and they're going to be bigger and stronger, more potent yogis, more potent masters, and the elites aren't going to keep up because they're hiding, they're scared, And that's just the way that they live their lives. It's not that they're particularly scared of these yogis. It's because many of these people just live a fearful life, and they're afraid of loss. They're afraid of losing their empire. And the thing about yoga is that it's never created a war. Look back in history. There has never been a war started because of yoga.
Well, I just saw a thing in Alabama where they just recently made yoga back legal. Is they made it illegal in the 60s. They thought it was satanic or something like that. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that thing?
Oh, yeah, because, the Christian community...
didn't like Hinduism, basically?
Well, the thing is that people don't know why, especially around the Bible Belt in America, and why they're so like steadfast on hating yoga, is because when Yogananda came to America in the 1900s, he initiated like 100,000 people into Kriya Yoga, into his lineage. He went down to the Bible Belt because his whole thing was like, look, the Vedas and the New Testament are nearly identical. And I can even read you a passage because Sri Yukteswar wrote it in his book. And let's see here.
Trying to find the passage. Yeah, go find it. Yeah. And Tommy King, we have a guy that wants to ask a question. Hold on. One person. Let me see if he can come on. Tommy, thank you for the donation. I've been worried about you, dude. What's going on? You haven't called in, Tommy.
I think it was for
and now you're playing me. Now you're doing it all boo-boo. You got the audio all messed up, Tommy King.
You got the audio all messed up, buddy, man. You already know I'm the
dude,
fucking...
I missed
What
you.
up?
Are you okay? Have you been okay? I've been worried about you, dude. You can't
man.
go MIA on the chat, dude. People worry about you, then they get my bad vibrations. They get me in a low vibrational state, dude. I worry about you in Fargo. Some guy, some cop jacking with you or something.
One that actually I learned at an early age to I talk real good with the cops, dude.
You're well spoken, but some of these fools are tripping. You know that.
Smiling not.
Hold on. Oh, we have a special guest tonight, though.
Yeah, you have a lady in there.
Yogi, sir.
Yeah.
And Alex, I have
Yogi's on there.
Yeah, Yogi is still on, Mom.
Yes.
Mom.
I want to see your mom. Yes.
We got Mama King, Sandy Olsen.
Sandy, Mama Sandy, come on, Sandy. We gotta see. Wow, she's more beautiful than you ever said. Why did you lie? You didn't tell me your mother was so attractive. You never said that, Tommy.
I'm just gonna tell you, I'm a Yogi guy. Yogi.
No, don't disrespect y'all, man. Be cool.
Yogi.
Hi.
What do you think about him, Mama King?
I've had a lot of Coors Lights tonight.
That's fine. We like it. Yeah, that's cool.
Is that really your first name?
My first name is Zoran, and I added Ananda to it, and Yogi is a title. I've done a lot of training, so I'm a yogi. It just comes with the experience of.
Look at Mama King with all those Coors Lights. That's when you're a yogi. That means like the teacher.
I'm moving them out of the way.
I love that. Ice cold, I hope. But the can didn't look blue. The can didn't look blue. Is that beer hot? You can't drink hot beer. Oh, okay, good. Okay. Well, Mama King, what do you got for us? Because we're I can't believe you've graced us on the show. That's so nice.
I've been arguing with my son all night about this whole fucking yogi guy.
Yeah, we're trying to dive deep.
You too, Mr. Alex Stein.
Whoa.
Number 99. Well, we're learning. Well, I'm going to get you in the Yin Yoga studio. I'm going to get you dialed into all your chakras. You're going to be calling in the show every night. If I'm going to get Tommy to throw you in a yoga studio, you're going to be thanking us. You can have all the Coors Light. Yeah, they have Coors Light in the yoga studio.
Not going to do it.
Well.
All right, Mom.
Okay,
all right.
wait, Yogi.
Yes.
Really? Zoran? You
Yes.
Zoran to Yogi?
Mom, come on. You got to be nice to the guests. Mom, you've had too many Coors. All right. I love you, Mama King. I love you. This is the VIP.
So now
VIP.
I'm back real quick. Let's go ahead and we're gonna settle this. We're gonna settle in. I hope that
say a question for Yogi, because we're about to end this interview. I'm about to let y'all both go. What do you have for him before I cut you off? I'm happy to see you. I'm so happy your mom came on. Tell her I love her.
Well, my number one thing with you is just appreciate what you do and spreading just thought, man. Just somebody that at least
Who you appreciate?
You say you appreciate your mama.
Goddamn thing.
Ah.
Damn it. Why you always doing this? You do this shit. Goddamn.
Mom, we're trying to do a show, Mom. All right. Mom, you're shutting the show down. Oh my gosh, Tommy King. Okay, don't report it. Oh my gosh. Let me just tell you, he's a big fan, regular caller, and we love it. The first time his mother has came on the show. So let's wrap this up. We've been doing a great interview. I can't tell you how much I appreciated what I've learned. I didn't even know about the 7 chakras. So here, hold on. Before we go, we're gonna wrap this up. We don't have to go, but I want to show your website because it looks so cool. Well, let me do the screen share, and then guys, let me tell you something. And Miss King, I don't think she realized that's the proper vernacular yogi, for somebody that's a yogi. But she'll learn. But this is, guys, Zorananda.com, and this is where you're going to be able to learn about the future life progression, where you can talk to yourself in the future, which I'm actually excited about. So hold on, let me just read the bio real quick. Zorananda is a musician, yogi, and meditation teacher. Has traveled the world to learn from renowned yoga teachers like Yoga Rishi Vushvetketu. I can't say that. And Ryan Lyer Vushvetketu. Am I saying that right? How do you say it?
Vishvaketu.
Vishvaketu, I can say that. And Ryan Lear has spent time in Koh Phangan, Thailand, studying yoga. Rishikesh, India, completing several teacher training programs. As his primary style of teaching is Akhanda Yoga, created by Yoga Rishi Vishvaketu. Zorananda has completed a 200-hour, 300-hour teacher training. He's also completed a complimentary 200-hour apprenticeship program. Zorananda has completed over 1,000 hours. Guys, I said this at the beginning of trainings over the course of 10 years that have formed the foundation of the future life progression, meeting your future self through dedicated yoga, meditation practice, and following phenomenal life synchronicities. Zorananda created a meditation and healing modality that redefines what it means to incorporate meditation into daily life. His musical life started at 16 years old after a traumatic snowboarding accident that changed his life from being a professional snowboarder to pursuing a passion and career. His first cherry red Barracuda guitar gave him hope towards a future that was filled with creativity and new sense of purpose. That struggled to find his own sound style persisted through years of learning metal and classic rock. Eventually, his life as a yogi brought a desire to play from his heart and create music from improvisation and deeper connection to true self. And I just wanted to read the bio. I probably could have read that at the beginning, but I want you guys all to go to that website so you can learn more about future life progression. And, what do you want to leave the people with before you go, my friend? And thank you for being on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. First, just thanking everyone who tuned in and who listened to this conversation. I know some of these topics are very in depth, and the world of yoga is vast, and it can be challenging to know where to start. The thing is that I do my best to provide a discourse that can make it comprehensible and can make it easier to kind of get into. And so what I want to leave here with is, though the state of the world looks bleak and what we're all going through is obviously creating a lot of division, and it's obviously creating a lot of hostility, that narrative is a fabrication. And what we can do for ourselves is know deep within ourselves that we can choose to be loving to each other. As simple as that. We don't have to jeopardize the life that we have. We don't have to jeopardize the friends and the family and the jobs and everything. All we need to choose is how to be loving to other people, as challenging as that may be in this world that is obviously sowing seeds of division, right? And this is where yoga can help, even in its most basic form. if you're in a place right now where you can't go to a yoga studio, there's so much free yoga online that at any point you can put on any video to do it, right? And even the meditations that I have on my website, there's 15-minute meditations, there's 30-minute meditation, there's longer. And this is going to give you the opportunity to go into yourself in a way that the obvious discourse and narrative of all the news media is trying to distract you from. Like I said before, just the own power of your own heart, of how to go into it and how to then bestow that presence upon other people. So I think it can be as simple as that, really. It doesn't have to be so complicated.
Wow, pretty beautiful, pretty eloquent. And listen, Yogi Zorananda, you crushed it tonight. I learned a lot. I'm sure people at home, they might not be into yoga. This show is, I hope people did learn. I hope people now have interest in, like everything you said, will go online. There's a million different resources where you can do a free yoga class from your phone in your living room. Nobody's watching you, and you will feel better after. You'll feel looser. You will sleep better. You will take a better bowel movement. I mean, everything will be better. So, Yogi, anything, last words? You want to say goodbye? What do you got to say for the people?
Yeah, please do go to my website, check out those things. I also have music up there, and check out my Instagram, yogi.zorananda. And you don't even have to do yoga. Everything that you listen to right now has planted seeds, right? There's some things that you agreed with, and there's some things that you disagreed with. The point is that through that agreement and disagreement, I'm sure it didn't inspire this kind of hatred and anger that comes about in the normal day-to-day media. And that is the type of seed that I think is beneficial to plant. And that's where I think I've been successful. So even if you don't do yoga, it doesn't matter. Just as long as you can then follow just how that seed is growing for you to have a more beautiful, a more harmonious, a more abundant life. Because in the end, that's just what I want for the people around me and for the people who are listening to me. Yeah, that's from my heart to yours and beyond.
Wow, it's beautiful. All right, guys, make sure to check us out. Make sure to share this, like it, and we'll be live tomorrow night with Dr. Lorraine Day. Yogi Zorananda, say goodbye. Thank you.